What if I told you a huge, hairy, mysterious wild man was roaming remote areas of Missouri, not that far from Kansas City? As Robert Ripley used to say, believe it or not. Here's tonight's Faces of Kansas City. What Scott Nelson hears in his headphones is strange, disturbing, and unexplainable all at once. You're convinced Bigfoot exists?
Yes. I've heard him speak. And you will hear him speak here in a moment.
Before you pass judgment on Nelson, let me tell you a little of his past. He retired from the Navy after a 17-year career as a cryptolinguist, intercepting Russian communications and decoding them. Currently, Nelson is a professor at Wentworth College in Missouri.
Because of what I did in the Navy, spending years, several thousand hours, speeding the human voice up and slowing it down, and I detected language in those vocalizations.
Those vocalizations were captured on audio tape in the Sierra Nevada mountains by a group of hunters in the early 70s.
Right here is a juvenile.
Nelson came across them a few years ago while helping his son write a paper on Bigfoot.
I said, Stevie, there's language here. And he said, Dad, how can that be? It sounds like a bunch of apes fighting to me. And I said, well, we have to slow it down like Dad used to do in the Navy.
All right.
But
listen for yourself.
I'm just going to let it roll.
Nelson says he instantly knew three things about the sounds he was hearing. One, that he was hearing a language. Two, that it was not human. And three, that it was not fake. It was at that point that he became a Bigfoot believer and researcher.
The number of reports have increased. I think it's becoming more and more accepted for people to come out and say, hey, I had this strange experience. It terrified me, and I need to talk about it. What is that?
In fact, Bigfoot has never been bigger.
But the high school student who shot the video doesn't seem to be looking for attention. He asked us not to show his face or give his name.
There seems to be new amateur video of Sasquatch turning up more and more frequently. The most famous, of course, is the Patterson film made in 1967. Skeptics say each and every one of them is fake.
You can't ignore the evidence.
But Nelson says not only is Bigfoot real,
strange activity, rocks being thrown.
He's right in our backyard. What can you tell me about?
A big, gigantic, hairy, wild man.
Somewhere in Missouri.
Throughout Missouri. The reports go back over 100 years.
Nelson says there have been numerous reports of Bigfoot activity up and down the Missouri River corridor.
There are two places in Missouri. One right here 10 minutes away called Monkey Mountain. Now there's a reason why the pioneers called that place Monkey Mountain.
Okay, I'll reiterate what I said earlier. Believe it or not. Now Scott has offered to take me to the nearby location where he says there has been a lot of Bigfoot activity. I have accepted, and I will show you what we find next Wednesday at 10 o'clock. If you would like to find out more about Scott Nelson's research, you'll find a link to his website at kctv5.com. Just click on the Faces of Kansas City page under News.